Hello everyone, my name is Nicolle Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 facts about Australia that are going to shock you. If you're someone who is not currently living in Australia, or you might actually be someone who was born and bred in Australia and might not know these facts about Australia. The first fact about Australia is it is the only place in the world that is both a country and a continent. So that is amazing. If you're asked to name a country, you can say Australia, or if you're asked to name a continent, you can also say Australia. So Australia is both a country and a continent. And the surprising thing about Australia is it is quite large, because I think Australia is not as talked about as, you know, the UK or the US. People think it's a small little continent tucked away, like on the Asia Pacific, far away. But Australia is actually quite large in land size, almost as large as the USA. But the majority of Australian land is bushland and desert, and is actually not accommodated by people. So Australia is one of the most underpopulated places in the world. So that is shocking. Australia is actually quite big, even though people don't think so. The second fact about Australia is that Australia is home to the largest herd of camels in the whole world. Yes, camels. Australia has got the largest herd of camels, more than Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Somalia and other African countries. So in Australia, you will find the largest group of camels together, and more than any other country in the world. So it is believed that, you know, there's a herd of like several hundreds of thousands of camels all walking together as one group that can be found in Australia. Now that is shocking. Most people didn't even think there were camels in Australia, and Australia actually exports its camels to Saudi Arabia because they have so many camels, and they're actually trying to control some of the things that the camels do, like, you know, destroying vegetation and all of that. But camels are also used for food in Australia, which is shocking as well. So there you go, a fun fact about Australia that you probably didn't know. The other fact about Australia is Sydney is actually not the capital city of Australia. Contrary to popular belief, people think that, you know, the capital city of Australia is Sydney because Sydney is, you know, more broadcast as, like, you know, the biggest booming city in Australia, but it is actually not the capital city of Australia. The capital city of Australia is actually Canberra, and that is where the Parliament of Australia is housed. So there you go. Australia's capital city is Canberra and not Sydney. And the other fact is that, now this one is gonna make a few people uncomfortable, and that is Australia is home to 21 of the world's 25 most venomous snakes. Australia has a lot of venomous snakes, and a lot of them are found in the outback. But the surprising thing is that even though Australia has a large number of venomous snakes, snake bites, and especially death by snake bite, are actually rare in Australia, because Australia is quite equipped. A lot of people in Australia are quite educated about snakes because it is home to a lot of snakes. So there's a lot of education. There's a lot of preparation from, like, medical services, ambulances, hospitals with antivenoms. And because people know how to treat snake bites, they know how to constrict the site of, you know, the bite. And a lot of people, it's something that is taught in schools. It's something that, you know, we are taught even at work. You know, if you're doing first aid training, they always teach you how to treat a snake bite. So I actually watched on the news the other day that there was was a guy who had a snake bite by one of the most dangerous snakes in the world, but because they managed to treat it early, like, you know, constrict the area, like you cover it, you know, constrict with a band-aid, and then you kind of leave the bite site. Because they managed to do that early, his life was actually saved. So those are some of the things that are good to know, even though we have a lot of venomous snakes. And you're most likely to die from a snake bite outside of Australia than you are to die from a snake bite in Australia, which is a good thing, but it's still scary to know that Australia is home to the world's majority of venomous snakes. And the last fact that I want to share with you about Australia is that Australians do eat kangaroos. A lot of people think that, you know, people like Australians don't eat kangaroos, and that kangaroo are just a national animal. They're used for tourism, like for people when they come to Australia, they always want to see kangaroos, and people don't believe that, you know, they're actually consumed by humans. So yeah, you can actually find kangaroo meat in a lot of places, in the supermarket, at like meat shops and all those kind of places. And one interesting thing about kangaroo meat is that, you know, it's not as simple to cook. And besides that, it's actually a healthier alternative to like beef and lamb, because it has a very like small fat percentage. So it's actually a healthy alternative. If you're trying to be lean and mean, then kangaroo meat is one of those lean meats that is quite healthy. And the interesting thing about cooking kangaroo meat is it gets very tough very quickly. So it's not ideal for things like stews and stuff. If you try and stew kangaroo meat, you will not be able to bite through it. Like, it'll be so tough. And one thing that my family and I love to do when we have visitors who live outside of Australia is we always make them kangaroo meat. And the best way we like to cook it is on a barbecue. So you just like flip it on the barbecue for a few minutes, because it needs to be left like medium rare, you can't overcook it. It can't be well done if it's kangaroo meat, because it becomes very tough. So you need to leave it like while it's to a little bit rare. And if you don't like meat that has a bit of blood in it, then you probably won't enjoy kangaroo meat. But you can buy kangaroo mince as well that you can cook, like, you know, more thoroughly and stuff like that. And the other thing is, whenever we travel to Zimbabwe, we love to get kangaroo jerky for our family, and it's basically just dried kangaroo meat, like kangaroo biltong, which is very, very nice, and people enjoy it. You can get it in like different types of flavors, like chili and all stuff, and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's something that you can find in those like souvenir shops if you're, you know, visiting family in Zimbabwe and you want to bring them a nice memory of Australia, something like that. Kangaroo jerky is always a good gift for families and friends who don't stay in Australia. So that's it for me, guys. Those are the 5 facts about Australia that I wanted to share with you. And the one that stood out to me the most was the one about camels. Like, I'm one person who didn't even think Australia had camels, but apparently they have the world's largest herd of camels. So there you go. That's it for me, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.